Hey everybody, Curtis Koch here from Broadway Limited Imports. We're back with another video, a what's coming video. We're going to give you some glimpses into some new announcements we've made recently, plus we're going to give some exclusive sneak peeks into some projects we're working on. But to start out, for those of you who are big Union Pacific steam fans, you're going to love this next announcement because this is another one of the long line of Union Pacific steam locomotives we made. It's the Brass-Hybrid HO Scale Bullmoose in HO Scale. The Union Pacific Bullmoose is a 2880 consolidation Mallet type steam locomotive. The Great Northern and the Union Pacific kind of revised the designs of these locomotives, and the Union Pacific crews developed the nickname for them as Bullmoose because they had the ability to pull the heaviest of freight trains over the railroad's Sherman Hill between Cheyenne and Laramie, Wyoming. The Union Pacific eventually had 70 of these locomotive types as they were manufactured in the railroad's own shops and by Alco. And they went into service in 1918, and as time went on, they received many different upgrades and rebuilds before ultimately being replaced by the 9000 series, the Big Boys, and the Challengers. In our first production run of the Bullmoose, we are offering the locomotive in two versions. We are building 3 prototypical road numbers in their pre-1944 appearance. This is most notable because of the feed water heaters and the air pumps on the side, the fireman's side of the locomotive, whereas the post-1944 appearance kind of looks like an early Challenger, but it's got a different sort of appearance and a rebuilt design with the air pumps on the front being covered up by some sheet metal shielding. Say that 10 times fast. And then we're also building one locomotive in a two-tone gray fantasy scheme. These locomotives do not have the two-tone gray scheme, but they just look so cool, and these renders show that. Each model will be available in our Paragon 4 sound, DC, DCC electronics, and smoke. In addition to these models, we're also building these in our Stealth series. These, of course, are DCC ready, so just plug in your favorite aftermarket decoder, and you're good to go. So you got plenty of time to get your orders in on the Bullmoose. You've got until January 24th of 2025, with the locomotives expected to arrive in December of 2025. So you've got just over a year until the locomotives arrive, but you've got till late January to get your orders in. And it's really important you place a pre-order because we still get orders that arrive after the order deadline, and we give those on a first-come, first-served basis on the extras that we build. So if you want to reserve the ones that you want, it's best to get your pre-order in with your favorite dealer. And if you need to find a dealer, go to our website, broadway-limited.com, and you can find the full list of dealers there on our website. Now on to you N-scalers. We got some cool things we want to tease with you. We're working on a lot of different locomotives behind the scenes and a lot of different rolling stock options too. We're going to share with you a couple of CAD drawings, so there's still details subject to change on these, but we're sure that it's going to get you excited for some new locomotives and rolling stock for you N-scalers. So first up here is our N-scale EMD GP30 CAD drawings. This is of the Santa Fe road version, and this of course will be perfect for you Santa Fe modelers that are probably more into the late 80s, early 90s, right before the BNSF merger. These locomotives will be perfect for that for you in our yellow bonnet scheme, and we are going to offer in a future run the bookend scheme for those of you who model before the yellow bonnet scheme. So we got plenty of different variations of those coming down the road. Lots of road specific details on these. Again, these are CAD drawings, so details are still subject to change, but just in case you give you a little bit of a glimpse into the future of what we're working on, these GP30s are going to be great. We're also working on GP35s for N-scale, the Shark Nose locomotives for N-scale, as well as some other passenger cars. We're working on the Kennefic business cars for N-scale. And finally, as you can see here, we've got our Pennsylvania Railroad Z74D business cars with both the different roof types, lighting controls, and all of that. We'll have more details on all of these projects for you N-scalers when we have an official announcement on them when that comes. We're in the development phase of these projects at this point in time. Now on to some fun stuff. We've got some physical models here that we want to show you to give you a glimpse as to how close these are to coming out. Both these models featured are an HO scale, and they're going to be arriving to stores in around November, one of the first 2 weeks of November. So stay tuned for that. And if you've got your orders in, we wanted to give you a little bit of an update and show you some painted samples because a lot of you have been asking for them, and we finally got some in from the factory to show off to you here today. So the first model we're going to take a look at here is the pre-production sample of the Pennsylvania Railroad Q2 duplex locomotive. It's most notable for its unique wheel arrangement. You've got the 4 pilot wheels up front, the first set of 4 driving wheels. The second set of driving wheels has 6 wheels here, and then finally 4 trailing wheels above the firebox on the back of the locomotive. But we're going to start from the back and work our way up front. We got lots of great details on here. Of course, you can see by the handrail that stretches from the cab all the way to the front here. We've got the PRR style whistle. The default sound will be a Pennsylvania Railroad 3-chime whistle, so you can go ahead and have that as your default whistle, but we do have other whistles on the decoder as well that you can use, including a Banshee amongst a couple others. So that'll be really cool for you Pennsy modelers. We got just lots of details on the top here too. You got the cab detail here with the slider for the ventilation of the cab itself. You got the safety valve, brass safety valves, brass whistle. You got the domes and cresses up here for the top of the boiler. Of course, you got the unique look of the design of the boiler where the smokestack is, and just the really unique streamlined kind of look to the boiler at the top. We've got, of course, the builder's plate at the front there. And then, of course, we got the unique Pennsy style headlight with the bell placed right underneath the headlight there. And of course, these models don't exist anymore. I mean, the model here exists, but not the real prototype doesn't exist anymore. So we collaborated with the Pennsylvania Railroad Technical and Historical Society to make sure that this sounds as accurate to a Pennsylvania Railroad Q2 as it can be. And the Pennsy guys have always been really helpful and supportive of us, and we appreciate them for that. Other details on the front of the model. You can look at of course, the running gear here. We talked about the wheel arrangement earlier, but you got all this nice piping detail and tank reservoirs down here. The locomotive itself is just going to be a great brass model to add to your railroad, and we're really excited for you guys to get these. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of a delay. We do share a factory with a couple other manufacturers, so this, along with the next locomotive we're going to talk about, will be arriving first or second week of November is when they'll hit stores. The factory should wrap up production by mid-October, and then they'll be shipped from there as soon as they can. So, again, lots of great stuff with the Pennsylvania Railroad Q2 locomotive, but let's take a look at the tender. It's just as equally as impressive. Now let's take a quick look at the tender. There's a couple of details we just want to point out. First is, of course, the coal load up here. That looks really, really well done. Of course, you got the Pennsylvania Railroad lettering on the tender here that you'll be able to see across the side of the tender. You got the water hatches back here, and of course the doghouse and the marker lights, both of which are lit, and you'll be able to individually control that with our Paragon 4 decoders. You got the great step ladder here for the crew that were able to access the coal load. And then, hard to see on the camera, but you can get a glimpse when you see the model in person. The cab interior with the two crew figures is also really well detailed. So Pensley guys, you're going to love this model. Of course, these are going to be, again, in stores first, second week of November. So now we're taking a look at our die-cast metal SD70ACe. This, of course, is in the Canadian National paint scheme, as you can obviously see. Just a couple of things I wanted to point out to you guys for those of you who like smoke with your diesels or don't like smoke with your diesels. The smoke for the locomotives will be popping out right above this exhaust vent right here. And in order to turn off the smoke unit, you just simply remove the radiator vents back here, and you will get the switch. It's default set to on, and when you put the locomotive on the track and start power, smoke will come out slowly at idle, but you'll see it notch up more. You can just throw the switch here to switch it to off, and you won't have to worry about it. The other part, too, that is interesting is that the design of the locomotive, you have two screws underneath the locomotive that will help remove the shell. The other two screws to remove the shell are actually right here next to the smoke unit switch. There's two screws that are located here. You unscrew those, and the shell will easily slide right off for you to take a look at the decoder or any other stuff too. So if you got some stealth models and you want to add your own aftermarket decoder, that's the easiest way to take off the shell there. But I want to go over this model in particular because we've got some Canadian-specific details on this model that are going to be well worthy for you Canadian modelers. But also we've got other details on it too that are worth noting for all our models that are going to be worth really looking at and getting a good amount of eye coverage on your railroad. And the first being is the wire handrails here. The wire handrails are made of brass, so you'll have some nice straight looking handrails on the front of your, or the sides and the front of your locomotives. The horn casting is also brass, so that'll also have some good sturdiness to it. It won't break as easy. You also got the road-specific details such as the hatch arrangement on the side here, the flush doors along the walkway of the locomotive, the Canadian-style steps on the front and rear of the locomotive. We got the high-mounted headlight right above between the cab number boards here. We've got the ditch lights on the front and rear. And on the rear headlight, we got the low-style headlight on the rear as well, so you'll be able to use that in both directions, obviously. We got the long-style sunshade right above the cab windows, and we do have wind deflectors. A couple of parts have broken off this pre-production model, so that will be on your model when it comes in. And of course, we've got other notable details: wire handrails on the front, grab irons on the nose, sand hatches, appropriate underbody and truck details per the prototype. So this locomotive is going to be really, really nice. And of course, it's got that weight to it, so it's going to be able to pull a lot of cars. We tested a couple of these locomotives on a couple of different layouts, and they've been able to pull up to 80 freight cars with no problem, just a single locomotive. So we think that you're going to be able to get some really serious pulling power with these. And just like the prototype, you'll be able to have some pretty prototypically looking freight trains on your railroad with these, and we're excited for you to get your hands on them. It'll look great in front of a merchandise or intermodal train, whichever you run on your railroad. And we're really excited for you guys to get these. Just like the Q2s, these will be arriving in early November, about the same time, so the first couple of weeks, and we're excited for you guys to get them. So that was a lot, I know. So thank you again for sticking with us. We always appreciate your support and your business. Make sure you stay tuned to our newsletters that come out on a monthly basis with the Broadway Flyer. And those of you who are Conductors Club members, you'll get your exclusive newsletters and some updates coming up later between now and the end of the year on when those Challengers and Big Boys are coming out if you placed your order for those already. So stay tuned for all of that. And of course, Conductors Club members get exclusive access into projects we're working on first. They were the first to know about the Unscale Jeep 30s and some of the other projects we're working on. So if you want to become a Conductors Club member, go to our website. You'll find the full list of details there. It's only $30 for the year, and you get the ability to get some exclusive locomotives from us that we haven't offered before, which is always really fun. So anyways, thank you again for your support and your patronage. We always appreciate it, and we'll see you next time here on the Broadway Limited YouTube channel. See you guys.